Compass Ceramics is a local company getting its start with personalized mugs and cups for events like the Festival Foods Half Marathon and the Hickson 50K. It's growing into themes that cover the natural environment, including pollinators to roosters. You can find more conversations on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy, and he's Brent, and this is Lacrosse Local.
My name is Lila Planavsky. I was actually born in North Carolina, but moved to Lacrosse when I was about 2 years old. I majored in studio art at Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota, and that is where Josh Wolcott and I met. Our travels next led us to graduate school in Knoxville, Tennessee. We were both hoping to become art professors, and Josh actually has a master's of fine art in sculpture where he did quite a bit of mold making, which is actually how our ceramic forms are made. Our paths led us a little bit elsewhere, and we are both now teaching at the middle school level. And neither of us are officially teaching art, although we do think that art comes into play in both of our jobs. I am a library media specialist, and I love the creative side of my work with teaching students how to use technology.
All right. My name is Josh Wolcott. I was actually born in upstate New York, grew up in the Boston area, came out to the Midwest for undergrad at Carleton College, where I met Lila. I had lots of experience with sculpture and absolutely no experience with ceramics. When Lila, who has done a lot of ultra running, came home one day and said, "Hey, we're going to build the awards for the upcoming Hickson Trail Race." And I said, "Great, that sounds like fun. What are we making? Wood, metal, cloth, leather?" She said, "Nope, we're doing ceramics." And that was the opportunity to buy a kiln on Craigslist, buy 50 pounds of clay, and just start figuring things out. It's been an adventure ever since.
It actually was not what either of us were in graduate school in art for. My specialty is printmaking, and I think that you can actually see my printmaking background come through on the ceramics pieces because they are a lot of the surfaces of the ceramics I'm actually treating like I would either an engraving or a relief carving. So it's kind of an interesting take on ceramics.
You create personalized mugs and cups for events like Festival Foods Half Marathon, I saw. You do some of those ultra running events. Was that the initial impetus for Compass Ceramics to make awards?
Well, it actually came about. I am an ultra runner working with Jake in trail transformation with coaching, and they are the organizers for the Hickson 50K and 25K. And it actually came about in a conversation with Jake and Tyler, like, hey, we could make you guys some awards for the Hickson race. The Hickson race is all about having local trails and building up local community. And it's really awesome. They've been great people to work with to get our business going and starting. And I feel like it really takes that local race to a new level for what it's doing and building the ways in which it can build community.
It's really nice to see something as an award that's functional art that people can actually use and not just be something that, sits up on their mantle in some capacity.
I think the other piece that we got really excited about right away was just the idea of celebrating our local heroes, right? Folks that, they train for 3 months, 6 months, they go out there and they do something that maybe 6 months ago seemed impossible to them. To finish something truly difficult and then take home a reminder of all of that work, of all of that success that you then use every day. It just seemed like a really interesting intersection between art and functional craft and athletes. We should mention when we got started, I really didn't know a whole lot about ceramics. I had worked as a sculptor quite a bit with clay, with plaster. I had built kilns before for metal casting. So I feel like a lot of the parts and pieces were already there. We hadn't really found a way to bring them together into an art form and a small business. And that was, that all kind of came together with the first race awards.
And I think we're kind of unique too, because we're not doing what a lot of people are doing with ceramics. You have a lot of wheel thrown ceramics out there that are glazed in really beautiful, pretty ways. And I think that with the cast forms and the printmaking background, you really have something that not a lot of people are doing. It's kind of a unique combination of skills that are coming forward in our artwork. Another thing that I really appreciate about working with Jake and Tyler and any other client who comes to us for custom work is it kind of comes back to grad school. We worked with this really awesome sculpture professor named Jason Brown. And one of the artists and a lot of what he talked about was the idea that art really is about this collaborative process. One of the artists that I learned about through him is this guy that goes into Central Park in New York City, and his art is cooking people breakfast. And I just remember like hearing and learning about that artist and it really shifting in my mind. The idea of the artist is this individual, genius making work by themselves and the purpose of art, for the museum. And I really love working with clients because I think that when you collaborate with somebody, you make something that you otherwise wouldn't have made. I'm working on a piece right now for a friend who has lost several babies to miscarriage and is really struggling with infertility. And she came to me, she's like, can you make me a rainbow mug? And it was like, yeah, I'd love to make you a rainbow mug. And it's not something that I would have maybe necessarily tried had that person not come to me, but it's neat to be able to make something that's meaningful to somebody rather than something. I think some of the prints that I made in art school are going to sit in drawers forever. And I think that the work that I'm making in collaboration with others, I think that it takes on a different life. And I love it when art has life to it.
Yeah, they do seem like they're going to be something that's, coveted or shared or becomes someone's favorite mug to have coffee in. Your work also covers a lot of natural elements from pollinators to bees to roosters. How has this area influenced your work?
It's kind of interesting. I think sometimes with this pandemic, people talk about a silver lining to it. And a lot of races were canceled. What that really opened up was an opportunity for us to be able to have some time to explore some other interest. And we had the opportunity this past fall to purchase an apple orchard called Fruit Acres over in the Crescent with a group of partners. And it has been really amazing to be a caretaker for the land and to really be just involved in the daily operations of the natural world. And so my series that we've been working on this summer has really focused on life in the driftless. The first one that I made, we got baby chicks. When we first had our chickens, Josh managed to buy like 17 roosters. It was kind of a funny argument because we went to pick up these chicks and I'm like, we're getting 6 chickens and we're going to have eggs, right? We're farmers now. I walk into the thing and he has a box with 17 baby chicks in it. And I'm like, Josh, what happened? He's like, well, the guy told me if I took all of them, he'd give them to me for $1 a bird. And I was like,
a good deal.
Oh. So we went home that day with like 12 roosters. And as you guys know, like roosters, even when they're young, they start to have these really interesting social dynamics where they kind of like chest bump and like come at each other. So the first mug that I made in the series, it actually has 2 kind of socially distanced roosters in it where they're kind of that tension. And it really made me think about like people too and how in the pandemic we kind of have these like, oh, can I come close to you? Are you wearing a mask? I all want to be respectful, but it changed the social dynamic. And the second one that I made in that series, it was really, really incredible to live up on an apple orchard in the spring when it's blossoming. We are working with a beekeeper. You can actually buy honey from our orchard. It was just really incredible to walk among the blossoms and then to have the bees come and to just think about the importance that they have in pollination. And I hope too that this work makes people think about what we can do for the natural world. Bees and pollinators are really important and they deserve our protection. So I hope that when people use one of the mugs, whether it's the pollinator, the monarch and milkweed, or the bee and blossom, that they think about protecting pollinators. Maybe it's planting milkweed or another pollinator garden, or supporting a local orchard that has milkweed, thousands of plants, and being able to have that many monarchs up there.
I think the other part of what Lila mentioned, that silver lining with the pandemic, initially it was really frustrating. It was upsetting to have contracts canceled and money that we were depending on. And in reflection, I think it was the opportunity to grow our business model in ways that we probably wouldn't have. We got started doing the races. By the second year, we were pretty quickly making 500 of a given object, 500 cups for Hickson, or 50 or 100 cups for one of the other races. That kind of production leads to very particular habits and setup, but it also leads to a particular kind of pricing. And I think because of that, we may have actually been undervaluing our work. And when Lila took the risk and put a design out there on Facebook, we found out that there was all sorts of demand that we didn't really understand, we didn't really know about. That's changed, I think, some of the ways that we think about and value the objects that we're making. And just from a business perspective, it's been really interesting to learn how to work in multiple ways and maybe have multiple models for success.
It's interesting to hear how you use this time. I know probably everyone in those first 30 days were in a little bit of a panic mode, but just talking to artists and talking to musicians, some of these people have used this time to build brand new endeavors. Some of them said it's been their most creative period they've had ever in their lives. Some of them, they just took a break and just didn't do anything. And now they're kind of coming out of it with fresh eyes and new projects. So it's interesting to hear your component on it. So, it already sounds like you have a ton going on, but what's next for Compass Ceramics?
I really love challenges. And one of the challenges that I set myself at the beginning of the pandemic when I started with my first Rooster mug was to make one mug design a month for the year and to put it in some way into production. I do have quite a lot of orders. So if people do want to order a mug for the holidays, they should put their order in now. Our work has become more popular and there is a bit of a wait time for it. We're not ready to hire an employee or anything like that.
A couple of things to add to that. I know it'll be difficult for podcast listeners to see, but I'll try and describe. So this is just a prototype that Lila's been working on. It's a horse carved on a stein. And one of the things I've noticed, especially over the last 6 months, is that Lila's designs and carving have become so much more intricate. I think that that took just being able to give yourself the time, the permission to invest that much in the carving of a single object. But the results are really exciting.
Curse myself sometimes though, because I really, really love detail and I really, really love things that are intensely designed, right? And have so much detail in them. And I did this mountain bike mug for the August design and it came out just awesome, but it literally takes maybe hour and a half to get the design on there and get it carved. And then probably another half an hour to glaze it, because the glazing that I like is really intense too. So sometimes I curse myself a little bit when I'm like, I have orders for 25 of these. And just that comes in too with that wait time for some of the ceramic work, is that it is really intensely detailed and takes a while to make the designs.
One of the other things I'm excited about is continuing to develop new forms. Because all of our work right now is slip cast in molds, it's a process of making one original and then casting molds from that so we can cast multiple. So this one originally came from a 3D printed model, computer designed, extruded in plastic and then molded from there. Whereas this one is one of the first ones that I've done where I just started modeling a clay original and built forms off of that. I'm excited to do more of that. The collaborative process that we go through is pretty interesting. Sometimes Lila will say in the middle of something totally different, okay, I like that. Could the walls slope a little bit more? And can you give me a little bit more room to draw or to carve? There's a real organic quality and a conversational quality to the collaboration, and it happens at all hours of the day. I don't know what's going to come out of that. I just really, really enjoy that we have that ongoing conversation and collaboration and pretty regularly seem to surprise ourselves and each other.
Can people actually pick up any of the work now, or where do you want to send them? Where should people follow along?
As of now, we have been doing most of our advertising on social media with Facebook. We have both been working super hard just to keep up with orders. I actually have about 40 people waiting for a mug right now. in terms of like being able to stock a store or have some that are like out there ready on a website, maybe I will get there. But right now, you should just contact Josh or I and let us know what you are wanting to order, and we will get it made for you. Right now, a little bit of wait time.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Locals. Subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.